Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of my co-host Rishi and the rest of the E-QIP team, we welcome you to Project Report Back Session 2. So just to point out that today is National Indigenous Day, and Beth DeBrune from CMHA Grey Bruce has volunteered to give our land acknowledgement for today.
Thanks, Laurie. Okay, so as we gather for this meeting, it's important that we begin by recognizing that wherever we are in Canada, we're gathered on the territories of Indigenous and First Nations people. In Grey Bruce, we're on the traditional territory of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, consisting of the Three Fires Confederacy, Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi. They are the peoples of the Anishinaabeg Nation who have lived there since time immemorial. We recognize that Saugeen Ojibwe Nation consists of the communities of Saugeen First Nation and the Chippewas of Nawash unceded First Nation at Nashawing. We also recognize the Métis Nation of Ontario. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties, and we are all treaty people. I'm a fourth-generation settler of mixed European descent and have lived in a privileged life in Ontario. I'm early on my journey of learning about the tragic crimes committed against Indigenous peoples. I'm sorry for the part I've played in reinforcing stereotypes and biases, and I'm grateful to the Indigenous people whose land we've come to love and call our home. On my journey, I'm committed to learning the truths, honoring and respecting Indigenous cultures, and helping to heal the traumas they have endured, resulting in disproportionate experiences of mental health and addiction challenges. I'll teach my family to appreciate and respect the culture of our Indigenous neighbors in an attempt to better inform the next generation.
Thank you, Beth. And at this point in the afternoon, I'd like to turn it over to Noshaba, and she has some comments for our teams.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to thank you for your participation and your engagement with E-QIP, and to congratulate you on reaching the end of the cohort coaching, the main part of the cohort coaching. The 4 teams today are Addictions Mental Health Services, Hastings Prince Edward, CMHA Grey Bruce, Youth Habilitation in Quinte, and Vitanova Foundation. And I want to say from the coaches, from the information that the coaches have shared with me, your teams have been engaged, they've been passionate, they've been committed to this work. I know you faced a number of different challenges, and probably challenges, some of them that you predicted in advance and some of them that were new to the work that you were doing. I know all of you have gained some in learning and have had opportunities to change the way you're approaching the work you're doing. And I want to just again congratulate you on the journey that you've taken and the work that you've done. And I'm looking forward to hearing these presentations, and I'm looking forward to hearing about the next steps on the work and how you're going to sustain the gains you've already achieved. Back to you, Laurie.
Thank you, Noshaba. And you pretty much covered all of the agenda. So
that was not my plan.
That's okay. So to kick off our afternoon of presentations, we will start with Addictions and Mental Health Services, Hastings Prince Edward.
Okay, that is me. So our program, our team worked on building the Justice House. Oh, I have control of the slides. Okay, thank you. So we did this with the whole Justice team, building the Justice House. Okay, so we were a small team to start, and we grew quickly, and then COVID happened. So we knew there was a disconnection within the team, and we wanted to work on flow. Our team came together and worked on finding opportunities for growth and improvement, and improved process flows. We learned the new tools and strategies to help us focus on building a cohesive team. So our problem statement, our opportunity statement was, since 2019, the program has expanded and there was a pandemic. There was not sufficient time to build a cohesive team and standardized process or protocols. We've had an opportunity to develop a cohesive program that manages growth, improve client experience, and ensures future sustainability. So our aim statement was, by March 31st, 2023, we aim to improve team process, and client flow, and we will utilize OPOC data to measure overall client experience. I almost asked for the slide to be forwarded, and then I remembered I could do it. Okay, so we loved the tools. So we used the Fishbone, and we used it on Miro. And I just want to say how fabulous that was. We had a big team, and the collaboration to be able to do it all at once was just awesome. And then we use the Pareto chart to help us figure the vital few and where to start. Another tool that we loved, the TRIZ, we did the exercise of opposites. We had fun with this one. The driver diagram really helped us to focus, and we used Miro board to continue with this one as well. I guess to point out on here, the change idea that we focused with this was to develop a program manual, referral process, deliverables, documentation, eligibility, client resources, links, contacts, etc. So one of our PDSA cycles was trying to have our team members in, we had 3 different locations. So we looked at moving them to one location, which didn't totally work with the court diversion because they're sort of embedded into the courts. So we were able to move the rest of the team together. So this was our PDSA planning for that change idea. We like to showcase this one. It was an easy win right off the hop. And not so much of an easy idea was the manual. So we were fortunate enough to be able to have a template, one that was sort of started through another program at our agency. So we created a shared to-do list and coordinated who was going to do what tasks. We started to make the necessary changes to work on the program flow and to show that with descriptions. And we have shared it out with a couple of other, one was another program manager and another staff that was new to our program. So we are currently on the ensuring clarity part of this right now. So we're having them take a look at it and make sure that there isn't parts that we missed. So our lessons learned, or our aha moments, one of the most significant learning moments was utilizing the tools provided and making time weekly went a long way to making a potentially overwhelming project seem more doable. We have worked well as a team, and this was a huge success. How will we know when our project is at the point of sustainability? Our project was about building a platform, a program foundation, and that has happened just with the participation in the process in the project. Successfully completing our change ideas will continue by giving us our guidelines for sustainability. Oh, and that was it. I feel like it was quicker than 8 minutes, so I'm not sure if I answered it all.
Good job, Becky.
Okay.
So, and it was great the way that you were able to showcase the linkages between your processes, team cohesion, and using OPOC data. And it was nice to hear that you've been sharing what your project's been working on throughout the organization. So kudos to you and the team.
Thanks, Lori.
Okay, so next up, I believe, is CMHA Grey Bruce.
All right, so that is me again. So do I have access to move the slides? Right.
But I'm not able to find you on the list that we get here. Are you using another account and you've changed your name over here? Is okay. I'll support you in moving the slide.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so next slide. Okay, so our project story, we determined that we weren't collecting enough client feedback data to effectively monitor our successes and our opportunities. We met with staff to learn what processes they're using to collect client feedback data and what challenges they face. We introduced standardization and survey administration procedures, and we learned the value of the PDSA cycles and the need to pivot when things don't go as planned. We also learned the value of reporting back to the data for staff buy-in. So that's kind of an overall summary. Next slide. Oh, back one. Yeah, thanks. So our problem opportunity statement at the beginning of the project was that CMHA Grey Bruce is missing opportunities to improve client services and shape organizational QI and data culture. We are currently unable to see client and family feedback in determining objective measures that align to our strategic directions. We lack a standardized procedure for collecting and evaluating client and family experience feedback and analyzing the data for quality improvement and organizational enhancement. So the aim statement we came up with was that by December 31st of 2022, we'd like to increase our OPOC rate of return from 9% to 40%. So some of the tools that we used were the fishbone, which we created as a project team, and then we actually took it to our all staff meeting and had staff vote on the 3 causes that they felt most significantly contributed to the problem. We then took that information and created a Pareto analysis, which showed that we had 7 main causes to focus on. They were family and client access to technology, OPOC surveys being too long, limited resources to administer and analyze OPOCs, clients didn't have time, ability, or literacy aids, client feedback, there was no process for client feedback, there was no data training, and that feedback hadn't been a priority since our amalgamation in 2018. So that gave us a little bit to work with. Next, yeah, so change ideas. We used a couple tools. We used the change idea concept list and we used the TRIZ. From the change concept list, we came up with a few that we really agreed should be our focus, which was standardization, schedule into multiple processes, and conduct training. Our high-level change idea was to come up with a process for each program. They wouldn't all be the same because every program's a little bit unique and they don't all necessarily fit into the same mold. They would be standardized within the program and each program would be supported. So we met with every program to explore the current state, gather their thoughts, ideas, and feedback. And after meeting with each program, we started to work on specific change ideas. So next slide. So we did our impact effort grid. Some of our change ideas got combined into sort of an overall implementation process. So we didn't really do one change idea at a time. We kind of lumped a bunch together. For example, we planned to determine current survey rate of returns and set targets in each program, in addition to rolling out a standardized procedure and conducting training. That was kind of, we did all of that at once. We just didn't feel that one of those things at a time would have enough of an impact. Our quick wins and scheduled change ideas are being applied in our current PDSA cycle. Whereas the major projects are more related to using our feedback effectively and will happen kind of at the end of our current PDSA. So our first, next slide, Naveen. Our current PDSA, so we're actually in our second PDSA, but our first cycle that we planned was met with resistance, and we reevaluated and decided to pivot to a different approach. So cycle 1, PDSA 1 was fairly short-lived. We came back together, decided to reevaluate, and kind of jumped into a second PDSA. The first one was around group sessions, and for whatever reason, staff have not bought into the process of using OPOC to support feedback in group sessions. They didn't feel like it was the right fit. So we decided what the biggest issue seemed to be was that we didn't have staff buy-in on the survey in general. So what we wanted to do was gather as much data as we possibly could and report it back and tell a story and try to improve staff buy-in. So we decided we needed to do a blitz. We've used blitz in the past in various programs inconsistently. Some programs did it, some didn't. They did it at different times. We did an organizational wide blitz. So it's running right now. It started mid-May and it's ending the end of June. We conducted lunch and learns at each site. We wrote standard operating procedures, distributed them to teams. We set distribution targets for each program. We had prizes for hitting the distribution targets and for the highest rate of return. We offered survey facilitation support from the QI team. So we actually have one of our team members who is going out to sites, meeting with clients, doing the survey with them face-to-face, supporting them to do it electronically. So we offered 4 different completion methods, and we're planning to do data analysis and report back with those results. So from what we learn in this blitz, we're hoping then we'll design our next PDSA and kind of see what the data tells us at this point. But we really found that the biggest lacking sort of piece was staff buy-in. So hopefully reporting back some data will help to generate a little bit more buy-in on the benefits of using the tool. Next slide. So this is just a kind of a run chart of our one of our process measures, which was survey submission. Blue is from 2019, so you definitely have some peaks. 2020 is in orange, definitely declining. 2021, there's one little peak, but a lot of decline. And then yellow is 2022. So, you know, we had a couple of surveys submitted prior to this blitz, but really we're already over our 2021 and I think our 2020 numbers cumulatively. So we're definitely getting some uptake, not where I had thought and not what I'd hoped. I put some pretty ambitious targets out there for surveys, but you know, it's better than nothing. And I really think that telling the right story is going to help with that buy-in piece. So our last slide is our lessons learned and aha moments. Next time we prioritize meeting with clients and families earlier in the process. We did this, but we did it a little bit later, and I think it would have been useful to do it sooner. And we learned that one of the most significant barriers to the project was staff buy-in. And we will know that we're at a point of sustainability once we have a run chart data that demonstrates our distribution and rate of return targets are being met consistently and that the procedures we set out are being followed in each program.
Great, thank you, Beth. You did a great job highlighting the importance of using data to inform your project, the importance of staff buy-in, and that change ideas aren't plug and play across programs. Everyone likes the TRIZ, and it's great, and you showed some great use of the root cause tools. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, and next up we have the Vidanova Foundation.
Hello, can everyone see and hear me? I can't see myself.
We can hear you, and yes, I see you, Jessica.
Okay, perfect. So I know I have a few, I think 15 slides or so, but I didn't plan on going through all of them, so I'll stick to the structure. So essentially, we at Vidanova feel like the small fish in a big pond. You know, all this was quite new to us, and you know, trying to figure out a target or you know an area that we wanted to focus on. It took a bit of time. So the things that we accomplished through this first run through were probably like more basic in comparison to others. However, for us, it was quite an accomplishment. We have learned a lot. So basically, we have recently gone through the process of becoming paperless, and in that we have been evaluating, you know, our processes in general. And so one thing that came about through staff feedback really had to do with the client's discharge process. We felt that we had, you know, administrative kind of processes, you know, treatment planning and all that worked out at the, you know, the beginning of the client's care, but the discharge tool we were using was very old. It wasn't capturing the data that we needed to collect, and therefore if we don't have the data, then it's hard to be able to do quality improvement moving forward, because we don't have the ability to capture that data consistently and from every client once they leave. So in summary, basically what we needed was the actual discharge tool that the primary counselor will use to document the client's care, as well as some sort of data collection process that allows us the ability to, you know, see quantitatively where we stand in our performance. So, you know, I think a lot of learnings came from how other teams that we've chatted with through the E-QIP process, how they were using the OPOC. We were using it in a blitz fashion, but it was inconsistent. And then with COVID as well, everything just, you know, we kind of went into survival mode, really. So it was a good opportunity to kind of look at how can we better utilize the OPOC. So through the process, that's really what we arrived at. And then the last piece was, okay, with these new processes, we need to implement the staff training around OPOC, around the new tool, and that sort of thing. So the problem opportunity statement kind of, I honestly feel like it's morphed since we've written it here, but we said that the client discharge process, it is administrative in nature, and therefore it lacks the client-centered approach that was found through the other aspects of the client's care. This would result in, you know, a lot of time being spent on administration with maybe not the best benefit for the client's actual journey themselves, but then, you know, we're not getting that data out of that time spent either. So it was kind of like a lose-lose. So that's what indicated we needed to make some changes. This wasn't, looking back, this, it feels incomplete to report on something that we're still working on. We haven't arrived at this yet, but we are close to getting this whole new discharge process up and running and all the clients being subjected to this new form. So it says by June. I think if we're to be realistic, it would be, we want to see 100% of the clients using this new discharge process. I'd say probably by the end of July or August. So I'd even like tweak that a little bit, but that's the goal, is to get this process up and running and everyone using it. One of the tools, like the other teams had mentioned, I didn't realize how helpful the fishbone diagram would be for us, and what it created an opportunity, one where, you know, sometimes I would fall into that trap of, okay, I've identified this is the concern, and, you know, here's my idea for the solution, right? And you would jump to that. But the fishbone diagram really gets you to stop and kind of marinate in the problem, so to speak, a little bit more. But it's also a visual tool that I brought to the staff meeting as well, and got them to identify, okay, in regards to the tool, in regards to staffing issues and some of the, you know, from the client's perspective, what are those deeper rooted concerns that we're running into? So you kind of stop, and it allows you to create a more in-depth analysis. So that was really useful, like I said, to bring to that staff meeting and chat about. That's kind of what I talked about there. Let me just skip ahead. Sorry, you see these other slides because I tried to like keep everything organized into one PowerPoint so that I can like effectively go back and review it later. So I guess I'll go back. So, you know, using the driver diagram and kind of breaking things down. To be honest, at first it was challenging to organize the ideas and really get clear on what we were doing. But one of the change ideas really focused around the OPOC. How can we utilize that better? And so first we started off with, okay, let's train all the staff on administering the OPOC. And then I sat in the training and they're like, well, the primary counselor shouldn't be the one distributing the OPOC. And I was like, okay, scratch that idea. Now we're moving towards having 2 designated staff. You know, and we have a system and a checklist in place. So when the client, you know, they do their discharge planning with their counselor, they fill out that new tool with the counselor and they're a part of that process. And then from there, they go to the designated staff members who will then administer the OPOC. So there's not that like uncomfortability, I guess, on the client's part, knowing that their counselor is right there when it's being administered. So yeah, we developed the tool, there's the checklist, and there's the overall staff training, and then getting each client that leaves to complete the OPOC. And that's basically what we broke down in here in the PDSA. And so we're still working on this right now. So I guess you could say we're still in like that first rotation essentially. And then the biggest learning piece was recognizing our knee-jerk reaction to formulate solutions from a top-down process without looking at the bigger picture. This highlighted how easily QI projects can miss the mark if you don't sit in the problem long enough to fully understand its anatomy. So by sitting in it longer and soliciting feedback from clients, that was one thing as well. We're trying to develop a focus that, Abel was very good at, like, okay, but Jessica, this is the idea. So how can you link that to a direct measurable improvement for the client's experience? And then I have to go, okay, I have to come back to it and rejig how we could do that. So essentially, our first walk along this quality improvement path, I would say it's been quite messy. But overall, being at the end of it, I can see how it's really moved us forward in a really big way in utilizing the OPOC, so that future projects, I can be like the other teams where they pick, like, okay, question number 21, this is the feedback we're getting, and we want to implement this strategy, and we have all the tools now to guide us through how to do that. And we can continue to measure the outcomes on that particular question to see where we stand and if our change idea is actually having an impact. So I know I have 1 minute. How will we know this is this is something that is sustainable? And I think that's when the comfortability of staff to use the OPOC and is in place, and we're seeing the clients move through that kind of administrative process, which in turn also creates better opportunities for them to have those better quality time with their counselor in the discharging process, because we're not held up by doing unnecessary administrative tasks. So I kind of rambled on the last point, but yeah, that's essentially messy, but very valuable in regards to our learning experience. So that's that.
Great. Thank you, Jessica, for sharing. Your discharge projects are quite popular. You did a great job showcasing the importance of root cause analysis, staff training for new processes, and client involvement in discharge planning. And I think some of the E-QIP team will be adopting your marinate analogy. There seemed to be a lot of response to that.
Oh, is there?
Yeah. So, and for all of the teams, there's a lot of feedback coming through in the chat. So please take a few minutes to read through some of the comments there. And yes, I totally agree. QI is not linear and it's not clean. It gets messy. So, but that's the fun part.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. And our final presentation for today is from Youth Habilitation Quinte.
Hi everyone. I'm Lily Lee, and I'll be talking about our team's progress on virtual care best practices. Okay. Our services pivoted from in-person to virtual care during the COVID-19 pandemic. A survey was implemented to determine how virtual services could be improved and be as effective as in-person care. During our QI learning process, our clients' virtual survey confirmed the same root causes that hinder care as in our 2020 QI on the fly findings, such as lack of screen share and lack of privacy. In applying our QI tools, our team identified key components that would enhance virtual care. These included client access to e-learning, such as a resource library, virtual access by partnering with the community hub for youth to enhance safety and privacy, and guidelines for virtual care. It is our hope that we collaborate and inspire our mental health colleagues to test these ideas while nurturing and embedding the QI culture within our team. Our opportunity statement in our survey on virtual care, clients cited a lack of privacy at home and discomfort using technology during virtual appointments. At the start of our QI project, 196 mental health clients, or 37%, access services via video conferencing, according to our EMH data. By March 31st, 2023, we will improve our client access in virtual mental health services by 5% and ensure the care experience is comparable to face-to-face. We will also aim to reduce our lack of privacy and discomfort using tech by 5% as well. Our diagnostic tools included the fishbone, and like another team had previously mentioned, Lucy had come by at one of our mental health team meetings and facilitated a survey on some of those ideas, and the top ideas were inputted into the Pareto chart, and the Pareto chart indicated enhancing capacity and access by partnering with schools or community youth hubs to increase access, and this would enable a safe and a private space to access virtual care. Using the fishbone, Pareto tricks, mapping the driver diagram, and applying the impact effort grid, an initial change idea was to test a resource tool with clients on their own time and to determine its clinical impact. Also, collaboration on the mural board was very effective in moving the project forward. There's a driver diagram for one of the change ideas. By March 31st, 2023, we will improve our client access in virtual mental health care, ensure safe spaces are available, reduce our impact of lack of privacy at home. We'll do this by partnering with the Belleville Youth Wellness Hub and schools if possible for space. The process measures the number of sessions or unique clients accessing the space for virtual care. Outcome measures increase the number of clients accessing virtual care by 5%, improve privacy at home and comfort with technology improved by 5%. Balancing measure, 85 to 95% agree overall that services I have received have helped me deal more effectively with life's challenges, and I believe virtual care is an effective way to receive care. We've initiated this change idea with the Belleville Youth Wellness Hub processes, and they're on board with using the Youth Wellness Hub Ontario processes. We're collaborating and working through those processes, such as referral, assessment, scheduling, etc., to implement virtual care. Oops. Okay, this was our first PDSA that we tested. It's a therapeutic resource to test with a mental health therapy client who may have limited privacy by mid-April. And in cycle 1, the therapist selected a client to share the resource. Information was collected with positive and collaborative feedback by mid-April. Cycle 2, the resource was tested with 19 clients via 2 therapists by mid-May. An update on cycle 3, although there was an increase in confidence among some clients, no clients mentioned whether the resources had any impact on their lack of privacy or sense of safety. There was little or no clinical impact observed for clients in this PDSA. Also, there was an issue of low engagement with the mental health team, and testing among members was quite low. So given the low impact, low effort, this change idea was put on the back burner for now. A lesson learned from this test was that it helped clients become more comfortable with clinical terminology, such as cognitive behavioral therapy and dialectical behavioral therapy. Outcome and balancing measure. Outcome measures are on the first row. 97% felt safe and were satisfied with their virtual appointments. And among those who felt uncomfortable, 47% experienced lack of privacy at home, while 18% felt uncomfortable using technology. And 65% strongly agreed that they believe virtual care is an effective way to receive care. And we thought 65% strongly agree. It's a really, really high number, because even in OPOP, you don't really see anything beyond 50 or 60%. So that was great. And our lessons learned, aha moments, we kind of did the slide a little bit differently. I'd say one of the most significant learning moments for us was that client engagement was the most significant. Having an engaged client representative on our team. Josh's input has been vital to our progress on this project. Since joining the team, the vision of our project really came together. And client feedback from our virtual care survey was also very helpful. Extremely valuable as well were the ongoing coaching support and the use of tools such as tricks and the impact effort grid to facilitate our learning on QI processes. How do we know when our project is at the point of sustainability? From Lisa, our mental health therapist, guidelines for virtual care are written. Clients know how to keep safe and enhance their privacy. Clients know the pros and cons of in-person and versus virtual care to help them make the right decisions for themselves. From Lillian, our other mental health therapist on our team, when staff and clients feel comfortable and there is no difference between in-person and virtual care. I think overall, more staff, to be sustainable, more staff need to be engaged and participate in our QI process. So buy-in is also an issue with our team. And that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Lily. Virtual service projects are always so interesting, and there's more data emerging and information emerging all of the time. I'm glad you found the mural board to be an effective collaboration tool. Your outcome measures, that was a pretty impressive visualization you had there. So great, that was great to see. And I think the consensus is we loved the Wordle you did that the team created for your lessons learned. So that was great. So thank you everyone for sharing, and thank you to all of our presenters today for sharing your learnings and all of your tools and resources that you put into your projects. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to my co-host, Rishi.
Thank you, Laurie. Likewise, great job, everybody from all the teams. Thank you for sharing the work that you've been doing for the last several months with our E-QIP team. It's a real reflection on, and from my point, this will be just the beginning of your QI projects, right? I don't think this is the end. I'm gonna put a small survey. We believe your feedback in revising our QI work at E-QIP as well. So please give your feedback. I know you have been providing throughout the touch points, and this is one complete evaluation that we would like to hear how your experience has been since we started. This will help us plan for our changes for the forthcoming cohort. So please take a few moments. There are a few questions, but we'll definitely appreciate your feedback. So it's a Survey Monkey link, so it will open into your browser. And let us know if you have any challenges accessing that. And yes, we have a fair amount of time left, so we can definitely have some discussion. If you have any questions to all the 4 different teams, please, you can unmute yourself or have your question type in the chat box, and we can definitely get some more discussion here. Is anybody having any challenge with the survey? I just wanted to know. And while we are doing, I will just take your time to complete the survey. I'm just going to go over a few things. I know this is the summer. We have been quite waiting for after 2 long years of the pandemic. So this is the time to recharge your, take some time off, but you also want to make sure that your project and your work that you've been doing is continues. So how can you make sure that the data you've been collecting, it also reflects and monitor your change ideas? There have been great comments about QI being messy, and I totally agree with that. The more the messy, the better, because that's the PDSA that you've been doing. Nothing, it's the trial and error approach. So I will definitely encourage you to keep on doing that. And how do you determine your sustainability, right? And the plan for spread? When do you want to spread out to within your organization if you have started out in one department or one unit? And also in your community, many of you may be part of Ontario Health Team. So it's all about the sharing your work with others. And how will you determine that, right? What's the ideal framework to say that you have sustained your project? So gathering that vital data, that's the key here. And continue that shared lovely run charts. I really love that, seeing the data over a period of time. And then if you want to still continue on this work, right, is it just because you achieved your aim doesn't mean that you cannot continue further. And sharing back, you have shared with your cohort members here, but also in your across the organization. How can you share your work? Who else might benefit to hear from you? And also in the community. So that's, I think this will be the time that you can reflect upon the plan. And how can you stay connected? This is not the goodbye from the E-QIP team. I think this is just, as we say, this is the beginning of your, some of you have been new to the QI work, so that's great. And how can you keep on connecting? So I know this is, so our cohort has been coming to the end today, but we are beginning to see the applications for the next cohort, and the date has been last Friday, but we are more than welcome. If anybody of you are interested in submitting one, we can definitely encourage and we'll consider your application for sure. So the link should be on our website as well. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach one of the E-QIP members, and we'll. And how can you stay connected further? So if you have been part of this cohort, you can definitely join our community of practice. It's a smaller group, but it encourages you to hear back what other organizations have been working on, different quality improvement projects, developing your quality improvement plan that you can share within to the board. And if you have new members, board members or senior executives joining the organizations, consider the governance and leadership that we offer, the training that we offer through E-QIP. So there are various resources that E-QIP besides the cohort coaching, and definitely encourage you to keep on connecting with us. There are many new staff members during this period. There's a lot of organizations have been going through the turnovers. So definitely also encourage you to share the e-learning ideas foundations to QI course. This is one of the great features to keep on getting that QI learning and developing the QI culture in your organization. At this point, yes, again, going back to if you have any questions to the 4 teams that presented, how did they had any challenges or anything that you may want to ask them, please free to see. I don't see anything here, but if I have missed, please don't hesitate to ask. Sorry, I didn't get that. Is there any questions, Becky or somebody? Have people completed the survey? Do anybody else needs more time, or just wanted to know what's the if people can give the thumbs up, thumbs like, raise hands or anything to know that we have completed, or anybody needs more time. Let's see a few thumbs. Perfect. I see a few things in the chat I missed out. I don't see any questions, but yes, as I mentioned, there's many various things that you can connect. You have seen this information before, but don't hesitate to ask any questions to the coaches or the E-QIP team. We also have the consultations that you can reach for any other questions that you may have. We have an active social media presence on the Twitter, so please follow us, and there's various resources. But likewise, if you have any questions, and I think that was about it. But wanted to take again that moment to acknowledge all the teams that have presented today, and really appreciate hearing the work that you have done so far, and the best for the next as you work on through those changes to make it more sustainable. So if you don't have any more questions, I think we can close and give some